Hey everybody. Welcome to this episode of Lunch with Alumni. I am really excited to have Ana Berguer and Adrianna Bojrab here today to talk about their careers in fashion and what they're doing now. Ana graduated from Country Day in 2008 and Adrianna graduated from Sacred Heart in 2008, but went to Country Day until her freshman year. So you guys are also lifelong friends, right?
Yes.
Love that.
Go way back.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's just jump right in. I love to sort of get started in talking about sort of who you guys were in high school. So bring us into your world. What were you involved in? Kind of like who were you? What were you interested in? And then do you feel like the skills or kind of mindsets you learned in high school or developed in high school have helped serve you in your careers now?
Okay. So would you go first?
In high school, I think at the time I wasn't entirely sure which direction I wanted to go. So I took the wide range of classes. I took extracurriculars too. I was in yearbook. I was on the tennis team. And I think that getting that kind of multifaceted background allows you to kind of be able to pivot. And so what we do from our day-to-day today is a little bit of math, a little bit of law, a little bit of marketing. And so I do think that all of these like different activities, and if you can diversify yourself in high school, can be translated into really any career. So I think it's good to get kind of a broad range of different subjects and sports and activities on your calendar.
Love that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Similar to Adrianna, I was on the tennis team, soccer team, choir, choral airs,
Yes.
Ursula Voce, yes, all these. I'm like, what were these terms?
Yes.
So I think I couldn't agree more with her, just like diversifying yourself as much as possible, getting a little taste of everything just to kind of develop yourself and also like these wide set of skills, because to her point, like whatever field you end up going into, you're not always just wearing one hat. You are touching on a lot of different aspects. So I think if you can like get in touch with that earlier on, like in high school, it's a great like skills to develop. And also like the best thing, shout out to Country Day, I think was, I don't know, Annie, tell me if it's still the same, how like it was mandatory for you to kind of be a part of like 2 activities or 3 activities.
Yeah.
Or
Definitely so mandatory.
Yeah. And honestly, that was like I can't like say that like that was the best thing, like this mandatory, like being involved in different activities and networking and different like groups of people doing different things. Like you're pushing yourself to be more creative, more athletic, better yourself, book clubs, all these things. So it was actually like incredible. I can't tell you how many people I went to college with that like just didn't have that. So
wow, I love that. That makes a lot of sense. And I think too, like just going to a smaller school like Sacred Heart or Country Day, it almost makes it easier to participate in all those different things because you have these like smaller networks, and it's just almost easier to meet people and just be involved in stuff. So I love that perspective. But did you guys have, I mean, because I know Ana in college, I think you started a t-shirt business, but did you guys have this passion for fashion and clothing and things like that when you were in high school?
I definitely did. Sorry, did you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
No, I definitely did. I'm sure like some of my teachers can remember I was always pushing the boundaries in terms of what we could do with our uniform. You know, like we were putting belts on our skirts and everything. So yeah, it was just my creative outlet. It was always something that I enjoyed. So yeah, it definitely goes back, I think, even before high school.
Yeah, I think same with me, less specific, but I grew up, you know, going with my mom to flea markets and antique stores, and always was kind of buying funky pieces and taking them to a local tailor and being like, change the hemline and let's do this. And So I think, yeah, we both were interested in it from a young age, but maybe didn't realize the career that we could have in that field.
Right. Anna, tell us quickly about your background. I love it. What are these pieces behind you?
Oh, I'm sitting in the back room of my office right now, and these are samples from the spring collection.
Love it. Very fun.
So I'm hiding a ladder behind it.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay, so you guys go to college. Adrianna, you were at Michigan. Anna, you were at MSU. I presume that you guys stayed in touch that whole time. And then Adrianna, you went to law school. So tell us a little bit about, that decision, why you wanted to go to law school. And then you had more of like a traditional, if I'm correct, legal role right after you graduated law school. And then you started working at Ralph Lauren. So sort of tell us a little bit about why law and then your transition to Ralph Lauren.
Sure. So I think I always was interested in the political kind of atmosphere. From the get-go, though, I knew I kind of wanted to do like alternative law. So I knew I wanted to kind of be creative, but in a more traditional field. And to be honest, it was a little bit of a new experience. When I was in law school, there was a path for, tax lawyers and a path for sports lawyers, but going into fashion law was not really a path at the time. It started here in New York City through Cardozo and Fordham law schools. They really were the first ones to do fashion law. So it was a little bit of a fun experiment. I met with a bunch of different people that I admired their careers, and I asked them, what classes did you feel like were the most useful in law school? And got that like mentorship from them, and then really made this like alternative legal career for myself, knowing that I wanted to one day work in fashion. And I think that experience led me to this law firm that I was at when I first started in New York, and realized that I could just go directly in-house in a different role and work my way into the legal department. And so I started at Ralph Lauren, and my boss kind of told me, make this role what you want it to become. And so I started getting involved with the show and the licensing team, where I was looking at contracts and working with modeling agencies. So I was able to use my legal skills, but in a more creative way, which is always kind of what I wanted.
I love that. And I think that's such a good point too, because you got to law school and you realized, okay, maybe they don't have like the exact fashion track that I want to be on, but you figured out how to make that work for you. So I think that that's really, enterprising and cool. So, okay, Anna, tell us about your experience right after college and working at Intermix.
Sure. So I graduated college with an accounting degree.
Okay.
And so, yeah, big difference. So I actually worked at a national accounting firm right out of college, and I was doing tax, and I loved it. But I was like, I want to be in fashion and I don't know how. So I quit my job and I moved to New York with no job.
Where were you living? Were you in Michigan when you were doing?
Yeah, I was in Michigan.
Okay.
And so, it's like really hilarious. I printed out 800 copies of my resume and walked around Soho and just handed them out. And I was like, I need a job. So I actually started working in the store in Intermix doing sales.
Okay.
And that was amazing. It was like Soho, like busy, crazy, like so much fun working in the store. And then I got an opportunity to move into the buying office at Macy's.
Okay.
Because ultimately that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a buyer, but I didn't know how. I didn't go to fashion school. I didn't take, retail math classes. Like I had no idea. Started at Macy's. I was there for a couple of months, and then I got an opportunity to move into the buying office at Barney's. And I was there for 5 years, buying the clothing, handbags, accessories, etc. And then when the company went under in November of 2019, it was a perfect time to launch our brand.
Great. Okay, so before we get into that, because I obviously want to talk all about your brand, When you are a buyer, can you kind of explain to students who are watching, what
Sure.
does that exactly entail? Like, of course, you're choosing the items, but it's kind of like much broader than that, from my understanding.
Correct. Yeah. And I think it will vary a little bit depending on what company you're at. Every company kind of has its own culture about what buyers do and what they don't do. And that's a great question. Thank you, Annie, because I had no idea what it was
Yeah.
either. So the portion of it is, of course, choosing the selection. So you will go to a multitude of brands, and you will choose what you want in your store, the product. The behind the scenes of that is the numbers that go into it. So this is
Right.
where my accounting background and
Yes.
finance background was pivotal. I mean, they really said, like, this is why we're hiring you. So if you have an interest in fashion, but you also really enjoy like the math and the number side of things, like buying is, in my mind, like the perfect marriage of the two. So you're choosing the selection, but you're also choosing how much money you want to spend on it. When
Right.
should it come in? What stores should it go to? Is the fit right? Whatever. How am I going to negotiate a discount to get these clothes at a better price? How am I going to negotiate if these things don't sell to give them back? Are you going to give me money? There's a lot of like facets about buying that kind of are a little like behind the scenes, but it's super numbers driven.
Okay.
But then also tons of product.
Yeah. Would you say it's like, is it like a high stakes, fast moving job, or is it like everything's sort of planned out and you know what to expect?
It's so fast moving. You try and plan, and then all your plans are not right.
Yeah.
And you just have to react. I mean, everyone knows like how quickly fashion moves. A trend is in one day and it's out the next. So you're constantly reacting to this business and trying to, make money in reaction to all these things. So
Right.
it's super fast paced. And just like for people who don't know, you're buying also a year out. So like right now, people are buying spring 22. So you're also like planning what is going to be great a year from now.
Right. Wow. So cool. I love that. Okay. So speaking of things, sort of trying to go according to plan and then everything changes, you guys decided to launch your line right before COVID happened. So I would love to just hear, first of all, how you came up with this idea and your concept, and then tell us a little bit about the challenges of starting your business, especially, of course, like with COVID hitting.
Adrianna, you want to go?
Sure. So at the time, Anna was working at Barney's. Barney's started to develop their private label. And so she was coming home with all of these, we're roommates in New York, all of these swatches and sketches. And I would walk by and be like, this looks interesting, show me. And so she would show me and we would like talk about it. And I think we had always wanted to do something together in fashion. I think once COVID hit, Ralph Lauren almost entirely got furloughed. And so we had this time on our hands that never existed before. And we started to kind of dream up, what it was that we, wanted to own, that was functional, that was versatile, that we didn't have to rebuy every year, that could live in your closet, evolve with your style and your needs, and work multi-season. And so I think regardless of industry, I think really the best ideas come from thinking about a need that you have and how you could best fix it, because chances are there's other people out there that have that same need. And so we went through our closets, we determined, these are things that we've had since high school, since, forever. Why are we holding on to these pieces? Is it because they have pockets and they're so difficult to crease, so it's easy to travel with? Or is it because, you can wear it throughout the year, regardless of season? And so I think we just started to think about what we had always searched for, a perfect like black dress outfit, for example, or, something that could be a cover up into an evening dress or outfit. And so that's really how we started. And then the ball really started moving when we started making kind of mood boards and thinking about what colors inspire us, what places inspire us. We're big travelers. So we took a couple road trips and snapped some pictures, and our line was born really in our kitchen.
Very cool. And so when you are thinking about the concepts and the design and, you know, the colors that you want to use, do you feel like that comes from specifically your travels, or are you kind of like drawing inspiration from all different areas?
Do you want to take this one, Anna?
Yeah. No, I think we're inspired by a million things like everyone else. I think for the initial launch collection, we were really feeling inspired from our road trip out west. So we wanted to do really nice, neutral, basic colors. Everything is black, brown, navy, or like sand colored. And I think it spoke to, like she touched on earlier, that you can wear these pieces year round. It's not prints, it's not super summer, it's not super winter. It's things you can wear year round and it will be in your closet and it's not going to go out of style. So that was important to us. And then we tried to match the color palette, you know, to that aesthetic.
Okay. So this is super interesting. And I know people are going to be thinking, okay, this is amazing. I love that they have a line, but like, how do you do these things? Like, how do you find the people who are going to make your fabrics and get the exact colors that you want? So tell us like exactly how you go about, you know, without like giving away your secrets, like how you go about making this all happen.
Sure. I mean, this is something that we learned as we went as well, because it's one thing to be like, oh, I want to make this, but like, how does it actually get made? How do you actually do that? The first thing, like she said, I think mood board concept, what do you want to do? What's your vibe? Whatever. And then you have to make a pattern of something. You can't just like freehand. I mean, maybe some people do, but if you want to like go into production, you need to make a pattern first. And then from that pattern, they make a sample. So you have to find a pattern maker, or hopefully you have the skills yourself to do that. We didn't. So this is where networking came in. I texted a girlfriend of mine who has her own clothing line. I'm like, where can I make a pattern in New York City? And she gave us this contact. It happened to be the same person that Adrianna was referenced to from another person as well. So you go to the pattern maker, they make a pattern. From that, they make a sample. And you get your first sample. So you try it on, you put it on the model or yourself or whoever, you mess around with it. Oh, this needs to come up an inch. This needs to be whatever. And you go through a series of samples until you have the one that you want, until the fit is exactly what you want it to be. Throughout this time, you've probably already decided what fabric it's going to be in. And there's a lot of ways you can do fabric. We used dead stock fabric. So we went to, and that means just like fabric that's like left over, because it kind of plays into the like sustainability that we are incorporating a little bit with our brand. So instead of having someone produce yards and yards and yards of fabric, we went around and found fabric that was already made and it's just sitting there. And we used that to do our very small batch production. And that's how we did it. And there's a lot of fabric resources online. There's a lot of great fabric stores in Detroit and the metro area too, that you can go and just pick up the fabric.
Okay. And is your brand named for something in Detroit, or how did you guys come up with the name?
Yeah, it is. Wait, Bosh, do you want to say or no?
Go ahead. I feel like this is a good story for you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So just like Adrianna, like me and my mom, we always love driving around downtown Detroit and just looking at all the amazing like old buildings. There was a particular building that we came across one day, and it was just this gorgeous old Art Deco building. It was decrepit. No one was living in it. It was kind of falling apart. But above the door, there was this very like cute little name on it, and it said Inez. And I don't know, it like struck with us. We even tried to buy the building.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We're like, let's buy it. But it was just cute. I don't know, like there's really not much more to it. It's a pretty name. It means something to us. It means something to our home and Detroit and, you know, where we're from. So it just felt like a good name for our line.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about, what you are hoping for the future of your line. How do you get a clothing line picked up by like a high-end distributor like Intermix or Net-a-Porter? Like, how do you make that happen?
Sure. So right now our plans are to do everything just direct to consumer.
Okay.
So you can go one of two ways with your clothing. You can either just sell it directly from you, or you can wholesale it
Okay.
to a place like Intermix or Saks or Neiman's, and they'll sell your product for you. So our strategy right now is just direct to consumer. So not selling to any stores yet, maybe one day. But just really reaching out to our customer directly via social media and e-commerce and our website.
Okay.
How do brands get into stores like that? One of two ways: you reach out to them enough that they will come to the line, or vice versa. They discover you on tools like Instagram or TikTok, or they come across your website, or they see someone wearing your clothes and they reach out to you. But brands definitely get picked up like either way.
So interesting. Okay, so for students who are interested in getting into fashion, how do you guys recommend they go about this? I mean, you both had really interesting pathways into what you're doing now, but for somebody who is, in the upper school and they think they want to do this, what can they start to do to prepare themselves either now or when they get to college?
I would say that a good resource is all of these colleges in New York that are specific to it, like the New School, FIT. They have internship opportunities for high school people, and so I think that also, reaching out to brands that they like, seeing if there are internship opportunities, asking to shadow with people, meeting with people that they admire or careers that they admire.
Mhm.
And going to coffee with them and asking them questions. But also so networking is a huge part of it, and learning more about that. But there's books on it. There's probably classes that they can take online if
Mhm.
they wanted to determine if they want to go more creative route and do design and construction of garments, or more of the back end, like Anna and I, with a legal background, a business background, a finance background. So I think maybe trying a little bit of everything, seeing what interests them, watching documentaries, and just really putting themselves into that world would really be, the best. In Detroit, there's Our Detroit. I know that they do a lot with fashion, and a lot of up and coming brands downtown at Detroit is the New Black. They do kind of like an incubator space. So maybe volunteering or working at something like that in the summer to really figure out what goes into the industry.
Okay, those are great tips. Anna, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say, one of my biggest regrets was not like tapping into it earlier on. So if you have the slightest inkling that you're interested in fashion, or maybe you want to do something in fashion, like look into it now. I waited too long. So like look into it now, because probably like what I felt, I was not an art student by any means. And I was like, oh, I don't have creative skills. I can't sketch. I can't sew. So I probably like fashion's not for me. But that's just not true. There's 80 million facets of fashion that if you're interested in being in this industry, you don't have to have a particular set of skills. Like you can do marketing, you can do PR, you can do styling, you can do buying, you can do wholesaling, you can do sales, design. Like there's a million different facets of the industry that like don't think that you have to be a certain like skill set or certain type of person or whatever, because there's 10 million things to do in the industry.
Yeah, love that. Well, thanks guys. Before we end, share with us where people can find your line and learn more about it. And then also, if you're open to it, how people can reach out to you if they're interested in learning more.
Sure. So we're on Instagram. It's Ines, INES_attire. That's where they can DM us, they can reach out to us, they can email us. We also have a website. It's INESattire with an S as well, .com. And that shows our newest collection. We just launched hats yesterday, so we're excited.
Cool. Okay.
and stay tuned for our fall collection.
Yeah, we got to send you a hat, Annie.
I would love it. Thanks, guys. This was so much fun. I would love for you to come to Career Day when we have it in February of 2022. So stay tuned for that. I think that would be a lot of fun if you're open to it.
That's
Yeah.
so fun. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for having us.
Of
letting us
course.
Yeah, thank